So that's why I say that. All right, so I'm going on in. I haven't talked for 7 minutes. I talked a long time early this morning. So the first topic I want to talk to you about is Micheal Todd. Micheal Todd, if you look him up, do a search on Twitter, do a search on YouTube, do a search anywhere on Instagram, you will find this young millennial. I don't know if he's a millennial. Somebody can correct me, but he's a young man with a family that took over a growing church in a black community where it was started by an Caucasian. I think the man was Caucasian. That might be wrong, but he's lighter complexion. Bishop, I don't know his name, but God led Bishop to allow him to take over the church. Bishop Gary, I think, was his name. Prior to him taking over the church, he was serving. He was a young Joshua in the ministry. So I know sometimes we are excited about what people are doing, but for years, I think 10 to 15 years, he's a minister. He's a musician. He's a producer. So he was talking in his podcast about how he learned so much and how those things has helped him to prepare him to now to where he has a great ministry. I was like, man, let me look up this guy. Because I've seen his posts like on Facebook or Instagram where he's talking about relationships and things like that on Twitter. And so I said, man, let me look him up, man. This guy the Lord is really blessing him. The thing what I was taken back by him was the fact that they just, he went into a community in Oklahoma. I think it's a community that's was run down with black on black crime and stuff like that. I think that's where it all started with this bishop, and like pretty much they built this church. And Mike Todd was a intricate part of helping designing. And he says, the people was asking him, has he been to seminary? He said, yes. His seminary was in developing and building this ministry. And it's just amazing how innovative he is. The things that I like about him, and I want you to check on when you get a chance, check about him talking about rest. I noticed he said a lot about rest. He said the Lord told him to rest. And he does a sabbatical every year where he goes away. So you know how most people want to keep building up their engagements. He goes away. He also talked about for a season of his life, he never if he wanted to get an engagement, he never exchanged phone numbers. He never went in the back green room. He never did those things because God wanted to single him. He said the Lord was telling him, just go home to your family. Do this, do that. And I said, this is amazing, a young person doing this. And he said he's seeing all the fruits because people are thinking that he brought in people. He did all the stuff that make the church grow. But he said, no, he just obeyed God's voice from his staff meetings. So he said he would go into staff meetings after he read the scripture and prayed and did, different things. And his church has different cultures. His church has young adults. His church has millennials. His church has adults. He said he preaches to 4 different types of generations. So he changes if he goes churchy. He can go to talk to the millennials. He reached to the kids. He said for years he did that in his development. Man, I was like, oh God. So that also just pricked me in my heart. And that's a current event. They bought this big center in Oklahoma. Type in Mike Todd. They bought this place that they're going to retransform, just kind of like a Lakewood. I see it as being something like Lakewood. It's a big building, millions of dollars worth, and it's just amazing. So kudos to Micheal Todd and what he's doing in his ministry. He said he went from having, I think, like 800 followers on Twitter. Somehow somebody on Twitter somebody went to his church, recorded him. So this won't none of his PR people did or anything. When this person did just like I'm doing, made a phone video, edited it, and put all his points up. And he said that clip went for everybody was trying to get in touch with him. From Frederick, TD all these people. And he went from 300 people on YouTube to now he got 800,000 or something. I mean, it's crazy. And he said it's just interesting to hear his story, and it's good to see his heart. It seems like he really loves the Lord, his family, talks about his family a lot, and it's just a great current event to know. So with me also as being in ministry, it's encouraging to me. I don't know what the Lord has for me. I don't know if God has ministry or pastorship later down the road for me. But if it does, I would want to model after him. He said he thought about ways to simplify their church. Taking all, he said they don't have all the big services all the time. They take Christmas off. You know, most people want to have church on Christmas and New Year's and stuff. He takes off during that time. And he said everybody was wondering how that was going to work with the finances. And he said their ministry is flourishing. So that's just one thing. That's a good thing on this Terrific Tuesday to understand that there's some great things going on in ministry. There's some things that people are not being scandalous. People are not trying to have no backroom deals. People are not trying to sneak and dip and all this stuff and do some of the things that we hear about in our ministry and culture, and actually in the African American culture, because that's the only type of ministry that I've been involved in. So that's a current event for you. So that's my first point. And again, type in Micheal Todd. I have a link to his podcast. You can do searches. A great ministry to follow. He has a lot of points and nuggets. And just go, if he types some in for his building, congratulate him. Or if that's something that God feels the lead to bless and sends a donation to bless their ministry, do that. And that's my first current event. My second current event is as we move on to some world issues and